Hello. So, today I'm going to try to go over some more simple topics that might be a little different from the last time we spoke. I know that the other day I tried to blend a little bit of my own experience with some more sorta seemingly hostile viewpoints of transgender people. So, rather than leaving that as it is, I want to try to bring the reality closer to what it is. That this journey, albeit personal, I want to try and explain some things to people who may be confused as to why anyone would want to do something like this. Okay? So, number one, I am not being pushed into this decision by anybody. No one is making my own mind for me because I am that I am. And the reason I've come to this decision is not something that was, I suppose, a product of my environment, because I was raised by a two-parent home, and both my parents were constantly involved. I had my father around me as much as he could be with working a full week for being an upper middle class family. My mother also had a full-time job. I had grandparents that I spent a lot of time with. I had lots of friends as a child, although I did still have some imaginary friends. I know that maybe some people would argue that imaginary friends are probably a little on the weird side, but if you're an inventive and adventurous person, then you know good and full well that an active and very fruitful imagination is a very beneficial thing, because it means your brain's active and that you're thinking of things in a really productive and critical manner, because your brain gets bored with reality and creates a false one superficially and suspends it over your reality to create an alternate one in your present. Sort of some broad concepts there that I breezed over, and I don't want to leave anyone behind, but I kind of do want to get to the meat of the video here today. It's not going to be as long as the previous one, so I'm going to try and keep things a little short because I don't have much time today. I'm kind of trying to get some exercise in and keep myself healthy, or as healthy as I can be, given the current state of our subjugation in our city and society. So I don't know if you guys, well, I'm sure everyone's heard, the wildfires are kind of big and bad, but smoky here in Sacramento. Not anymore, at least not for the last 2 days. So that's good. But what I really wanted to stick with here is that, secondly, as opposed to the first, I am a little scatterbrained because I'm high in trait openness and very artful, which leaves me with very little to do with organization and planning skills. So I just kind of do things on the fly when I feel like doing it, or when it arises and I have the most convenient opportunity to do so, around some loosely based plans that occur during the day. And I do have certain things that I do at certain times of the day that I stick to a structure. Still pretty loosely structured. I get up at the same time every day, so I'm not exactly your common, as it would be put, house pet, okay, or housewife, or whatever you want to call it. Either way, I'm pretty happy with my current situation. I just want to, lay to rest some of the misconceptions of transgender people, for the fact that I think that it would only benefit all of us if we had a more open conversation and forum to discuss these things in a manner in which that would be beneficial to everyone involved, especially others like me, other transgender people that may have been misrepresented in the past by either a judgment, or should I say a poorly constructed worldview or poorly constructed personal view based on the purview of some left or right-leaning professor or parents that are obsessive over their children's development. A healthy, knowing when to let go parent is perfect. And that's who I had, letting me do things small things along the way to learning who I am and developing through childhood in certain ways that did bring me up into a really stable 2-parent home and helped me to understand who I am in the world, even though the world has had a hand in changing me. In my previous video, I discussed a little bit of some of the dirty particulars revolving around my decision to be a transgender person. So I didn't decide to be transgender. That was just what the term happened to be when I found out who I was. I had no notion or no knowledge of this transgender movement or existence before I seen it on YouTube and before I seen it in public. At least that's what someone called me. So I had no idea that that was who I was until I did further research into it, which was just about, I would say, probably a little under 5 or so years ago that I fit that definition. And I was not aware that the definition existed before me. So I was pretty much alone in my own mind and in my own development from that point forward. So what I'm trying to do today is kind of give you an update as far as what I think would be better for all of us to learn and to know. That most transgender people, most of us, are just trying to be happy and just trying to feel comfortable in our skin. Now, I don't know about the rest of you. I'm speaking to my transgender family out there. The True Transgender Family, not transvestites. I love you guys, LGBT community. I didn't mean to bash you in the last video, but I think we're being unfairly lumped in with a bunch of left-leaning libtards, if you know what I'm saying. So I wanted to try to put something into a perspective that is better known as being honest. So to all my other transgender friends out there, I don't know if you experienced this the way that I have or not, but it isn't fun. Even being lumped into a label of someone who judged someone rather publicly or in a situation where it was viewed as probably, against the normal standard or not in good taste. So what I want to try to do is leave you guys with something positive. That, I forgot where I was going with that, so we'll come back to that later, I suppose. But I want to leave you with something positive on a note that is real interesting about who transgender people are. Now, you may not know this, okay, but the transgender surgeries that occurred have been occurring since the 1920s, and from what I can gather, even earlier than that, they've had occurrences where they were happening, but they couldn't nail down an exact date. So there were some surgeries and instances where people had the same conclusion that I did in life, that proceeded the same journey and along the same path that I had, and had an easier time of it because of their country, allowing those of us who exist in this manner, or in one form or another, to at least have fair treatment in the medical system. Now, this craziness that's going on with Jordan Peterson about his outspokenness against Bill C-16 in Canada is not an American issue, okay? So, be that as it may, I don't like what's happening in Canada any more than Jordan Peterson does. I don't agree with the Bill C-16 predication. I understand what it entails and what it explains and its proliferation. It's very convoluted, and there are things that are not mentioned in the bill that are otherwise mentioned in a different document entirely that do point to what Jordan was talking about. Sorry, Dr. Peterson, don't mean to disrespect, sir, but they were pointing out exactly what he was talking about. Compelling speech to the point where it's violation of freedom of speech, and you're narrowing the bandwidth in which we have a conversation, or we could have a conversation based on certain words we can or can't use. So, with that being said, I want to remove transgender people from that event altogether, because it wasn't about me. It wasn't about you. It wasn't about any transgender person. That's the second time that happened. It wasn't about any transgender person, for that matter. And I really wish people would stop saying that. This is not a transgender movement that Jordan Peterson is a part of, and he does support transgender people. So, whether or not he supports transgender folks is not a reason to bash the guy, okay? Because everyone is allowed their own opinion and their own views towards anyone in public. I'm not saying that you can't have an opinion on me, okay? You can think whatever you like. Doesn't make it right or wrong. It makes it your opinion. Now, I also am welcome to the same liberty and rights and privileges, okay? I'm also welcome to the same thing. So that means I can think of you whatever I choose, whether it's right or not, until I'm taught or shown otherwise, and vice versa. So, I do think that we should learn to live and let live, and understand that we're all human, and that everyone's different, that none of us are the same, that if we were all the same, then we wouldn't have any of these problems. The truth is, even if we were all the same, which we are, we're all human, we do have tons of problems because individuality crops up in everything, and we try to put individuality in the realm of government where it does not belong, okay? Because we are all individual sovereign. We all need to be treated the same as humans, because we are all grouped into a species, kind of tier. We're mammals, mammalian, whatever. We're humans, hominids, whatever you want to choose to define a human as. We're all human. So there are only two genders. Okay, I'm sorry, folks. There are only two genders, male and female. Okay, that's it. Anything else is just a twisting of our language to the point where you're bending it over backwards to define something that does not exist. Like a mental illness, in the case of myself being transgender. I'm not crazy, okay? I've done some crazy things, like try to be straight for, nearly half my life. Tried to be, judgmental towards other people through no fault of their own. I'm guilty of that too. Everything that I'm asking you not to do, I'm also adhering to my own life. I will not judge anybody based on their outward appearance. Or at least do my best to try not to, and try to come to a consensus where we can at least talk about these things in an open forum that would make sense to other people, and it would at least help to guide us into a place that's better than where we are. Because currently, we're looking at things through rose-colored glasses, and it's not just a Katy Perry song, okay? It's real people. The folks that are in control of this monster drive it until it's bled dry, and it runs on the souls of the innocent. So, if you think that you're gonna avoid this death machine, then who do you think they're coming for after they're done with me? They're going straight for you, and they aim for the throat, and they never miss. So, if you don't want to be part of that, you want to avoid the death machine, then please help us all avoid it, and that we could all live together happy on the same planet and look at things in a perspective that is new but old, because I view the things in this world and encounters that I have in my own life as other certain people do. There's nothing new under the sun, never has been, never will be. So yes, there are instances in where society has fallen when they suddenly allow people to be themselves, but that is only because they haven't found the true cause of what all societies fall on, because we keep resetting our reality after we reach a certain point. A society is destroyed because we can't get past it. This is that time. It just so happens that during this evolution in society, we come to this point where we can almost get to utopia, but because we can't let other people be and live and let live, then the creator of this reality, our matrix, if we live in a computer simulation, whatever, this game is over, okay? They reset the program. Some massive disaster happens. Examples, ice ages, floods, earthquakes, near misses, or cometary impacts that destroyed half of civilizations and all life on the planet. So, yeah, if you pretty much nail it down to one board or another, you know you're going to hit at least some meat somewhere. You're going to find it, that it's very true what I'm saying. And I'm very accurate in this, and I know that I am, because I've done enough research in it to think of it as this, and it is such, and it is so. So, be that as it may, I do want to continue making more videos, so regardless of what I say today or what I say tomorrow, you can bet your bottom dollar that I will come back with another video and we'll have more to talk about, especially when I start my cooking show, because you haven't seen that yet. Maybe we'll do something different. Could do style, could do anything, whatever. Maybe talk about movies, talk about music, review other things like what happened on Fox News the other day. I mean, did you not see that? Wow. What was her name? Anna something or other. Yeah, I can't remember her name right off the top of my head, but you know, she was fired for saying that about Hillary Clinton. Now, I don't share the same views of political people that other folks do, because half of what happens in the news is fake and the other half of it is based off fake news. So you really can't believe what happens in the media, especially not when it comes to certain political people, because they all do smear campaigns and try and destroy the image of the other person or the opposition. It's how the game is done, which is why it's not real, and which is why they are trying yet again to divide and conquer all of us. So, with that being said, if you like Hillary, if you like Trump, it's okay. They're two sides of the same horse's ass, okay? It's the same horse. If you look at it, it's the left leg versus the right leg. If you think of it as a bird, it's the left wing versus the right wing. It's still attached to the same stupid bird that keeps pecking the same pile of crap over and over again, okay? So, to be truthful and to be honest, politics and political movements are just that. They're designed to keep you preoccupied with what's really going on behind the scenes, and they do this warring of ideas right in front of you, and then whatever they say goes, and it's written in stone after they make a decision on certain things. Ergo, my favorite saying, problem, reaction, solution. Okay? You don't know what that is? Type it into Google. Don't be lazy. Type it into Google right now. Seriously. Yeah, I don't need subscribers as much as you need to know this. So put that in the Google thing right here, right above me, okay? Right above your YouTube video. Put that in. Type that in. Problem, reaction, solution, and you'll find out what I'm talking about. At least there will be at least one hit to that topic that makes sense, and you'll know it when you see it, because the government does this all the time. Okay, they do the same thing with cancer. If that isn't a clue, and if that isn't something that sets off a light bulb in your head, then maybe you haven't done enough research into that fact. And I don't want to insult people. I really hate doing that. So I want to keep things simple and civil, okay? Before I was defensive, because there were some negative things said about transgender people that didn't make any sense to me. So you're lumping us in with the groups. And to be honest, it's like comparing all light-colored people to white privilege, okay? I'm a mutt, in case you can't tell. I'm mixed, okay? I have African-American in me. I have Scottish in me, not Scottish-American, but Scottish in me. I have Irish in me, Cherokee, some other breeds of Indians, and some other smatterings of different hominid species as well. So I'm a mutt. I can't claim privilege any more than my shirt can. Okay? So, getting back down to what's actually real and logical to think about here, I don't want to keep kicking a dead horse, so to speak, so I want to elaborate a little bit more on just one thing. I am not a pervert or mentally ill. I believe I've at least proven that within this video and the previous one, that mental illness is not part of my existence. The only instance of mental acuity problems we've had in my family is from my grandmother having a stroke after she banged her head really hard on the front door of our house, which was made of steel. Okay? So it was from a brain injury she had, caused a stroke, and she was also almost 80, so she was pretty old. So I can't say to any real certainty that it didn't run in our family, but I do know that we don't carry the genes. So yeah. But before we get into anything further, sorry, my screen went dark. I do want to let people know that, you know, this world we live in is only so big, and there's only so many of us that can exist on it at one time. So, with population on the rise, and food shortages being threatened around the world, and shortages of all kinds of economical things that we all live for and work for every day, you would think, and one would assume, that transgender people that can't reproduce would be ideal in a society where population is an issue. So rather than taking away the ability to have children from the straight folks, and the taking away of people from the society that might be transgender or gay, you should be looking to us, or at least looking at us as equals, because we're going to only help the situation. I'm not going to hurt things by bringing more mindless eaters into this world, okay? I love kids. I said before I didn't like kids. That isn't true. I love kids in the sense that I know they're early humans. I don't love kids in the sense that, someone in a religious, otherwise well-known religious, group that is rather proclivitous towards young people. I don't want to say too much, but you know what I'm hinting at. And at the same time, I don't want people to think that all transgender people are like me. You're going to run into some folks that are transgender that are doing it just for fun, okay? That are doing it just for style, or just for the looks, or for the attention. That's not me. Because this is who I am. As painful as it might be for you, it's 100,000 times worse for me, okay? Because I have to live in this body. Even though I do enjoy it now, I didn't always enjoy it. It took a lot of coming to terms with who I am and what I think that I am before I knew who I was. Knew who I was, and before I knew what I was. So, that's all past tense, because it is past tense for me. This is a whole thing for me now, because I am that I am currently, and in the future I hope to be something entirely different, at least on the outside. Because the inside is finally communicating with the soul and the spirit. The connection that we have with the ethereal plane exists, and the ether is real. So anyone that denies the work of Tesla, or denies that there is a world just beyond this one where these evil people operate from, then you're just denying bold-faced facts, okay? You're not looking at things at what they are. I'm not saying they're lizard people, okay? I'm not saying they're demons, because when a creator that designed this place, that speaks only of love, that designed this place only for us to have an experience of each other, would he damn you eternally for one mistake? Or even 20? I don't think so, because no one deserves to suffer for an eternity for what they do here based on what they experience on this planet because of someone else's crap that may or may not have an impact, or had an impact on who they became when they grew to an adult. So, yeah, which is the reason I don't believe in anything as far as God punishing us, okay? We do that enough on ourselves. And the real pain of hell comes from a painful death or regret in your life. And even at that point, it comes from guilt, and it comes from not adhering to the ability to come to terms with your own wrongdoings. It's called karma. Okay? So, if you can't at least come to terms with that and know that those things exist and understand what karma is and means for everybody, just because you don't believe in it doesn't mean it isn't real, okay? Everything that happens, everything you do has an equal and opposite reaction. And that's also true about karma. If you put good out, you get good in return. Okay? It's that simple. And if you lead an entire life of nothing but debauchery and evil, where do you think you're going to experience your afterlife? you're going to get the equal and opposite reaction. So that would intend that you would probably not go to someplace terrible, right? God would have it easy on you because, hey man, you had it rough when you were here because people tricked you and they lied, and you were just trying to get past all the crap by sifting through everybody else's ashes. And for some reason, people kept treating you like crap because they didn't understand you. So yeah, rather than let you burn in a lake of fire that didn't exist in the first place, I'm going to have to let your soul sit in the baker for a little bit to burn off that impurity, to get rid of that bad karma and the bad juju that filled your soul, that you kept and held on to yourself because you weren't able to come to terms with yourself and clean your karma. So that's the reason for forgiveness, and the reason for prayer, and the reason for going to church, is to clean your karma. So, with that being said, my friends, I want to help you all understand at least one more thing. Okay? But that will come in the next video. So, please try to have a good day. And please try not to insult a transgender person when you see them today. Especially if they're walking by you on the street, because chances are they don't want to be walking there any more than you want to be seeing them. Okay? Thank you. Have a great day. And I really appreciate your time. Subscribe, please.